Breakfast puppies?
This podcast contains adult language and content and is meant for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
It's the Glitterbois! Yeah, darling.
Welcome back, dear listener, to another episode of the Glitterbois. I want to give a quick thanks to your patience, dear listeners, as we have sorted some things out in our personal lives. The last couple weeks, we've both been up to some shit. That shit is more or less in a state that still exists. But here we are, we're recording again. Glad to be back at the mics.
And that is true. One of the hardest things about doing any kind of creative work in the midst of any kind of like personal life turmoil is just sticking to it, not always making it the thing that gets cut.
I record so much and I edit so much, and I've got so many games going on, and I've got books that I'm working on, and a job that I'm doing, and people that I'm dating. And sometimes when shit hits the fan, I have to think, what areas of my life am I going to diminish temporarily while I deal with mental health? And it's tough.
That said, though, we're starting to get some feedback from y'all, and that's really exciting to us. We live for that moment of where you guys come on the Discord and telling us that we're all wrong about this artist or that artist. And we have a question this week.
Yeah, this is our first actual listener question response episode. A fellow named Douglas messaged us with the following. Hi, big fan, longtime role player, 30-ish years, still kind of new to the Megaverse, only just got back into it. In episode 23, your discussion on skills, how do you deal with a character who doesn't have a proper skill, but still wants to try the task such as hide, prowl, drive, and so on?
Yeah. So I honestly, I have answers for every different system, but for Palladium itself, I'm pretty comfortable with what you do in our games. There's this thing where you're like, okay, do you have anything relevant to the task? It may not be exact, but I mean, if you have repair motorcycle and repair airplane, you might be able to, maybe change a starter on your car. Or, if you have tracking and wilderness survival, you might be able to identify that plant because you've lived here all your life. Or, it's just that there are some things where the parallels happen. But I think a straight roll with small negatives for small things, I like finding that plant is different than piloting that power armor. So it really all depends on what you're trying to do.
Yeah, the Palladium skill system consists of a truly massive list of skills.
Yeah.
The actual use of which is largely unexplained. I've never once actually seen a set of rules in Palladium that actually explain how to roll your skill checks. There's all kinds of rules on acquiring skills, leveling up your skills, even applying penalties to your skills, but none that I can find that explicitly define how to actually roll them. Like, I've never seen anywhere that says roll percentile dice. It just gives you these skill numbers, and it's one of these areas of unexplained designer assumption in the Palladium system. Like, how to roll that.
I think you're right. It isn't much of a leap because, there's only so much you can do with your percentiles, but yeah, I don't think anyone's ever spelled that out.
Yeah. Back in the early days of Palladium games, such as in the Mechanoids and in Palladium Fantasy First Edition, and I think in maybe some others before they got to being a little bit more explicit with certain things, they didn't even say what dice you rolled for damage. What they did instead is they would give a number, say 1 to 6. So 1-6 or 2-12 or 2-20. And they would give this range of damage, but they wouldn't come out and say 2d10.
You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like actual gamers writing a game. And there's a lexicon of assumptions and abbreviations and things like that where a connection will be made to another gamer, but not from someone from the outside coming in.
this is one of those situations where there are assumptions that are, as far as I know, never actually explicitly defined. And since it's difficult, if not impossible, to find an explicit definition of how to roll your skills, if you do have the skill, I think it's possible to find something in the rules telling you how to do it by default, rules as written, if you don't have the skill.
Yeah. And it should be noted that Palladium isn't D&D. They're not going to write everything. And that's not their gig. That's not their bag. A lot of this, of all of them, and especially for such massive tomes that Palladium gives you, there is a lot of, this is for you to play how you play it. Here's what you can play, but here's your interpretation is welcome. And I get that feel. It's more open-ended than most systems.
I agree. There's a lot of rulings over rules, which is, rulings over rules is one of the clarion calls of the OSR movement today, which is why I'm kind of surprised there aren't more OSR dives into what Palladium does. Hopefully that can be rectified soon, but we'll get, that's a whole other topic of discussion, really. So for me, there's a few different ways that you can go about doing unskilled checks. I mean, first, as a game master, you have to decide, is what they're wanting to do even possible? Some actions just don't make sense and cannot be done without having the skill. I mean, if he's a clumsy guy and he's trying to prowl, that's one thing. Anybody can try to sneak, even if they suck at it. But if it's an unskilled idiot meathead wanting to perform robot engineering, it's different, man. Things have to make sense, in my opinion. Like, even if the rules say, oh, if it's unskilled, you can still try it, I would just come out and say, no, sorry, this is not going to be a situation where you can try that. You need to try and come up with something else to do,
Yeah.
Now, if they do want to do it, and I do say that I'm going to let them do it, and at least try, then I like to think that there's no such thing as just failing when somebody does something unskilled. This isn't necessarily a replication of the way real life works, but I like the idea that if you don't have the skill and you're still going to try to do it, then if you fail at it, it's going to make things worse.
Yeah, that seems fair too.
So I like to think that if you are unskilled and you fail hard. So whenever a player wants to do something like this, I like to let them know this up front. I say, look, before you decide whether or not you want to do this, understand that if you fail, bad things will happen. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but they could happen. So if they still want to do it, there's so many different ways to do it. Here's something that I put together that I'd like to put out here for you, dear listener, to consider you doing in your games. If you can relate it to a stat, then let them roll D100 versus half that stat, So if they're prowling, unskilled, and their physical prowess is 12, give them a 6% chance of success. If they have additional modifiers, such as prowl penalties from armor, apply those as well, because you don't ignore the penalties. And if that reduces their chances to 0, sorry, no chance. You can't do it.
That's interesting to me, because I think most people have at least at one point in their life tried to move silently. And the reason we're picking prowl is because it was one that was directly referenced in the question. You get into the realm where you're thinking heroic versus the people who run the village. And that's where because that seems a little draconian to me.
Well,
honestly, like a 6% chance of moving silently before we talk about your armor out of 100.
There's another assumption here that I'm making that I should explain. And you know what? My bad, mea culpa. I should explain my own assumption here. My own assumption is you're only going to even need to roll the dice if there's shit on the line.
That's true.
The dice, in my opinion, for a skill should only be rolled if it's an interesting situation or a stressful situation. Like if that guy just wants to try and sneak around and it's not like super important, that's fine. You don't even need to roll that. Do whatever. Let the player just say what happens. But if that guy is trying to sneak through the middle of a battlefield and, bullets are flying around him and he's trying to escape, he's going to have a hard time doing that unless he's got the skill,
Right. And you should also take in mind what your target is when doing things like that. If you're sneaking up on the sleepy baker standing watch over the village at night as a quote unquote guardsman, that's not going to be too terribly difficult.
Yeah.
If that, Baker Guardsman is actually a CS dog boy with nostrils a quiver, it becomes different. So make sure you're taking the situation into it.
Yeah. So my assumption for a baseline skill check is this isn't just a normal situation when you're doing the skill. You're trying to do something in a stressful situation. So the baseline without modifiers is it's a stressful situation.
Yeah.
But anyway, that could still be kind of draconian. The reason I go with half the stat is to be fair to people who took the skill, because a lot of times skills start pretty low. And let's say you have a character that has a physical prowess of 38, but you didn't take prowl. However, your buddy took prowl, but he still only has it at the base level of like 25 or something. But you still want to try to prowl. So even though your ability is super high, I still don't think you should be as good as somebody who took the skill at even a basic level.
That actually makes a great deal of sense. We should explore that real fast, though, the concept of other people and helping other people through skill checks. So let's say I don't have any prowl skill, but I am incredibly dexterous. And NPC here is a wilderness scout, and we're moving through a forest. Now, what I would do personally, if I was running the game, I would say, okay, you are going to be able to move silently if you prepare. If he goes over your gear and ties down everything that rattles, shows you really quickly how to walk, and you move at a quarter speed.
Oh, yeah, I like that. Always apply some kind of this isn't going to go as a normal skill check. You're going to have diminished results, or you're going to have like something. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. That's good.
Yeah. That's how I run it. But I've never, I'm sorry, my bona fides are weak. I've never run Palladium. I've played Palladium, but I've never run it. So,
well, if you do run it and I play in your game, I apologize in advance. I will probably be that guy, and I will try very hard not to.
I'd also say some of it comes down to your OCC or RCC.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, let's. What were the other ones? There was driving. What else did he ask?
Looks like hide, prowl, drive, and so on.
Okay, so let's take driving for an example. If you're a let's go with like a rogue scholar or something.
Mm-hmm.
You have so many skills, and you have so much knowledge that it can be assumed you can do something at just the most basic level. You're not firing out the window and hitting anything, and you're not doing like amazing power turns or weird reversals or drifting or shifting in strange ways. But you could probably get that thing across town, if you had to. You're a smart person. Again, if you're a dog boy and have been raised in a militaristic, you need to know this and nothing else society, that wouldn't apply to you as well. You have never been trained on that because your training has been looked after. You're not a generalist. So I think the base flavor of an OCC should be taken into account when doing skills as well.
Agreed. And as a side note, it's fascinating that you mentioned the rogue scholar, because we're going to do that dive on our very next episode. And amusingly enough, I have some points to bring up about their skill distribution.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, listen to the next episode, dear listener, and you'll find out more.
So I kind of went over things, but I know you have something a bit more polished how you look at it. So do you want to run through like a scenario? I know Abel used to do this to you often, and we could kind of give a step-by-step.
Well, here are some other options that I have written down of things to do, things to try. I talked about rolling against half the stat. If you can't roll against half the stat, if you cannot find an applicable stat, and if you as a GM think, they're going to have a very, very, very slim chance, but what the hell, I'm going to let them roll it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
One of the simplest things to do is say either a 1 in 100 or a 1 in 1,000 chance. Those are pretty fun, I think, in my opinion. They fail all the time, but when they succeed, they just seem so satisfyingly perfect. But I have come up with a new idea while preparing for this episode.
Okay.
It is something I've never actually written down. I've been doing it for a very long time, and it actually ties into what you were just asking. Anyway, I've been doing this for a long time, but I've never written it down. I've never given it a name. It's just some kind of a reflexive roll that I have always done. And I'm going to be calling it the hand wave die roll. Basically, it works like this. If a player wants to do a thing, I consider what I know about the character's abilities. If I think that character should be able to do that easily, then I just let them do it. No roll required. This doesn't require me looking at their skills list. This is me thinking about, what do I know about the character and the way that they've been played up to this point in the game? Are they a dog boy or are they a rogue scholar? What's their background, you know? If I can think like, the dog boy is probably not going to know much about peasant farming techniques, but the rogue scholar who grew up in a peasant farm may not even have peasant farming as a skill, but he's probably heard something from the people in his village.
Yeah, he probably grew up doing it.
Yeah. So in that case, if it's something I think that they should be able to do, and it's not a difficult situation, and it doesn't step on any other player's toes, then yeah, I'm just going to let them do it. Tell me what happens, but let's make it just not the best success.
Yeah.
If I think it'll be a challenge, then I roll a d30 versus a relevant stat. If it's lower or equal, they succeed. Otherwise, no, and they make things worse. If I think it's risky, I'll roll a d60. If you don't have a d60, just use a d6 and a d10. I do have a d60. It's big and metal. I don't roll it on glass tables. And you shouldn't either, dear listener. That's rude. And if I think it'll be extremely difficult, then I'll roll a D100. Otherwise, if I think it's impossible, but I'm feeling whimsical, again, D1000.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully this answered your question.
But, oh, wait, sorry.
Oh, you got more.
All the way back to the beginning of the episode, one thing that I do commonly do if I just don't want to make a call on the fly is find a relevant skill that's similar, as you were saying. You know, Abel often did not have the exact skill that he needed at a certain time, but he would have tangentially related skills, and we could work against that, but he'd have a penalty or something. That's kind of the easiest way to do it. If you just don't want to use any weird mechanics, just pick another skill and give it a penalty.
Yeah. I would also say you kind of touched on this earlier, but I think it deserves to be brought into more light. When doing this, you don't want to encourage people to do it too often.
Oh, yeah. No.
Especially since the odds are, unless you're playing a cadre of people that are all from the same place doing the same thing with the same training, you're going to have someone who can do it better. And people need to be brought into the game. Everyone needs their moments. And it's what relates your interest. If your character is always there, always being overshadowed, you're not going to have a lot of interest in your game, and you're not going to have a lot of interest in your character. So before you open it up to just everyone doing everything, think about whether someone else could do it better. Not necessarily stop that person, but think about who else nearby might be the person to do that, and maybe gently nudge it that way.
And if you're running a game with those kind of players, and it's a weird one-off or complex situation, or a Hail Mary, so to speak, make sure that when you call for a roll, you do explain that this is a one-time call. And if they want to try that same thing in the future, it's likely to not work. You're likely to just say no, and they need to go and learn the damn skill if they want to keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Always keep your options open with that one. You don't want to get ruled down by it. But if you're facing a TPK and they say, wait, but maybe I could do this. Yeah. We'll allow that. And if they're using the same thing to bargain with a trader to get, paper at half a credit off later. No, you cannot.
Exactly. That's how I feel. Like, one-time things, a lot of fun. Why not? Go for it. It makes for a memorable moment. But when the player's like, well, I did it last time. Yeah, that's because I was feeling generous last time.
Yeah, I was being nice. So yeah, basically our advice is wing it. Like take everything into account and wing it.
Pretty much. Get yourself a D60. Those are always fun. A D30 and a D60,
All right. I think that's everything I have on it.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about it. Thanks again, Douglas, for messaging us. This was good. This was fun to talk about. I was going to make it a quick answer, but the more I started thinking about it, the more I realized I had to say.
Yeah. And we honestly really enjoy answering any questions we have. Between us, we have easily 60 to 70 years of just general gaming knowledge. And we're happy to help in any way. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to get to us on any of the common routes, and we'd be happy to answer them for you.
Thanks again for listening.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Glitterbois, a Palladium Books fan podcast. Glitterbois, Rifts, the Megaverse, and all other such topics are the property of Kevin Siembieda and Palladium Books. Please buy all their stuff and help keep them in print and making more games. You can order directly at palladiumbooks.com, and their entire catalog is available digitally at Drive-Thru RPG as well. Our opening music is 8-Bit Bass and Lead by Furby Guy from freesound.org. This closing music is Caravana by Philip Gross, available at freemusicarchive.org. All sound effects used are self-made or acquired via Creative Commons 0 license. If you like what you have heard, find us on Twitter and Facebook as The Glitterbois. That's BOIS. And check us out online at breakfastpuppies.com/glitterbois. And also join us on the Breakfast Puppies Network Discord at breakfastpuppies.com/discord. And if you want to help us out, please spread the word and help us build a community. Thanks again for listening. We'll catch you next time.